All right, we're going to head out to that studio in the sky where we've got Matt Robinson with us with McKinley County, the City of Gallup as the booming metropolis in that county. Is that correct, Matt?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Gallup's the place to be. You got it.
And now, what is it? What organization are you a part of, and what is your role there?
Sure. So I work for the City of Gallup. I'm the tourism and marketing manager. So primarily we oversee the Visit Gallup brand. And what we try to do is basically bring visitors to our great community. We do a lot of advertising, a lot of events, associated activities, just to try to promote our community and get as many people as we can to visit.
One of the this is I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, but I'm a Gen Xer, and so the Sizzler has a certain connection to the Gen X crowd. And I was writing an article. This is probably about 5 years, just like around COVID.
Hmm.
And it was on the Sizzler, and so I did a search for the most eastbound Sizzler. Well, first I had to Google, are there any Sizzlers left in the United States? Because we don't have any in the Midwest here. And turned out there was like 40 or 60 or something like that, primarily in California. But the easternmost Sizzler is in Gallup, New Mexico. And so I actually pitched the idea of having like a Woodstock type revival at the Sizzler for Gen X people. And I thought, boy, that's so stupid it might work type of a thing, but it didn't make it out of the meeting. But so
Oh.
outside of the Sizzler in Gallup, what are some of the different places that people can expect in your community when they drive through Route 66?
Yeah, well, Sizzler's definitely a staple for us. I mean, as a millennial, I even remember being a kid in California going to Sizzler. So it's kind of funny to circle back and have one here in Gallup. But no, we love our Sizzler. But there's a lot to do in Gallup. I mean, we really have a really rich cultures around us. I mean, as you may know, we have the Navajo Nation to our north, we have the Zia Pueblo to our south, and then we've got various other pueblos along I-40 and Route 66. So we really lean heavily into culture. We have our Gallup Cultural Center with a really lovely Code Talkers exhibit. They have a Route 66 theater, a nice cafe downstairs, and then just kind of a small museum with some really nice artifacts and pieces from indigenous cultures. So that's really a wonderful stop. If people are coming through, definitely encourage that. Um, Kind of going back to the food angle, we have great food in Gallup also. I always try to send people to Jerry's Cafe or Don Diego's. We have Oasis Mediterranean restaurant. You may not expect it, but we have really amazing Mediterranean food here in the middle of the desert. So it's kind of a nice fit. And then we've got great events year round, mostly in the summer months. We'll have rodeo starting in June. We have our Gallup nightly summer Indian dances all starting in June. And then as we head into August, we've got the 104th annual Intertribal Ceremonial coming up. And that is one of the oldest events, I think, in the country, but it's definitely the oldest Indigenous event in the state. So we really are proud of that event. It's a week-long rodeo, powwows, dances, all kinds of really great stuff.
Now, when you say Mediterranean food, are we talking like Greek food?
More Palestinian.
Oh,
They kind of have a little bit, but the family is Palestinian.
okay.
Um, and they're one of the top rated restaurants on Yelp. In fact, I believe if I recall correctly, they were number six in the Southwest and number one in New Mexico a year or two ago. So they've got chops. They're really good.
So I'm a, cancer survivor, and so I was for about 8 years, I was kind of like almost like a raw food vegan, if you will, because I was doing a lot of my ended up having medical misdiagnoses for 6 years, and so I had to take matters into my own hands, type of a thing. And so I tried a lot of different diets and did a lot of studies, and the Mediterranean diet, as well as a Okinawan diet, are the
Hmm.
two that produce the most centurions, people that live to be 100 years old. The Okinawan one is and it might even not be that, but it's a small village outside of Japan that does a lot of sweet potatoes and fish and seaweed
Hmm.
in their diet. And the Mediterranean one is mostly olives and you know, some cheese, I guess, but it's a lot of raw foods, really, at the end of the day. With I think a lot of goat, if lamb and goat, right? A lot of
Yep,
that.
yes, sir. Yep.
Is a Palestinian like that too, or what's the staples to theirs? Because I'm excited now. I'm a huge Indian food is like my favorite Indian food,
Oh, we've
from
got a
Nepal
great
and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a great Indian food restaurant in Gallup also. It's actually in a truck stop, believe it or not, but it's fantastic.
Bowie, Arizona has one too in the truck stop. It's like a place that you'd see in a horror movie, but then you go in there and it's some of the best Indian food you're going to find in Arizona.
Yeah. Oh, we've got that in Gallup too. But no, for Oasis, they have a lot of shawarma, beef, chicken. They do
Hmm.
have lamb occasionally, and then they'll have some really good specials coming through. So you could go get a ribeye occasionally, different, items like that. So, but I mean, my wife is the same. She's has some medical issues, so it's hard for her to eat meat. So her go-to is the Oasis salad. Really nice. It's all
Hmm.
kind of raw, like you were talking about, fresh, really good stuff. So there's actually a surprising diversity of food. I mean, it's not surprising to Gallupians because we know we have a diverse community, but folks driving through northwestern New Mexico may not make that connection. So I definitely encourage people to stop, stretch your legs, and take in the cultures that we have here because it's incredibly diverse.
How long do you have to live in Gallup, New Mexico, to be referred to as a Gallupian? You
I
think
would
you're going to
figure
slide that one by the goalie? Absolutely not. That was I'm a former editor, man. That
you got the keen eye. Yeah, I'm a newspaper guy too from before, so I can relate. Well, I don't know the answer to that. I know I've been here for about 4 years, and I would probably still be considered an outsider to some folks. I mean, as you know, in a lot of small
Mhm.
communities in New Mexico, people are very tight knit, and there's definitely generations of folks who go back. So I've been accepted very well so far, but I don't know if I could call myself a Gallupian quite yet. I don't know if I've earned that title.
That's a great word. And just so you know, folks, where I moved to, my neighbors, they moved in when Kennedy was assassinated, and they're still the new folks in town. You know what I mean? So you could be generations in, and you're still the newbies in town. So
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, you might also appreciate jalapenos. That's another one that goes around.
Well, I like that one, but Galupians, boy, that just sounds really like a citizen type word. What was it? Like what was it's jalapeno, jalapeno, right? Is that where that comes
Yes.
from? Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
yeah. That sounds like some junior high kids having fun, which is also very much encouraged here.
Yes.
Gallup, New Mexico, we've established they've got a good diversity of food. You've got some. Is there like an iconic type of a diner or iconic type of place to eat there? I know there is in the lodging, and we'll get to that next. But is there like a Ike's Chili or a Coney Dog and Lou Mitchell's Diner type place? Is there anything like that in Gallup?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think one of our most iconic locations downtown is Jerry's Cafe. They still have the original neon signage, beautiful murals, and it's a small restaurant. So part of the experience is kind of waiting.
Yeah.
You wait maybe 10, 15 minutes, but it is worth the wait. There's always people there. The owner is named Archie Baca, really, really great man, gives so much back to the community. So I really like to refer people down there. They're probably one of our most iconic locations, I would say, to get some food.
Now, I did notice too when I was doing some searches on lodging. I'm a former hotel employee manager type of a thing, and so I'm familiar with how it's a very difficult industry to hang on to if you're a small family business, and it's not uncommon to have Choice and Best Western and some of the other larger franchise to probably take over some of these iconic places. I mean, I'm near Deadwood, South Dakota, so I mean in Custer and that sort of thing. So I've seen it happen firsthand. But I did notice Gallup did have a couple of the old hotels still. I don't know if they're still operated by some of the families or this and that. But what's the lodging like there in Gallup?
Yeah, we have an incredible array of lodging options. I would say, in terms of historical locations, El Rancho kind of percolates to the top. They are very well known across Route 66.
Probably the
Um,
most famous thing coming out of Gallup for '66, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. It's pretty much the most iconic
Yeah,
location.
yeah.
They have their neon signs, great restaurant, bar, gift shop, and it's where the stars used to stay when they, in the golden age of Hollywood, when John Wayne was here filming westerns, John Ford, all those big names, they would stay in El Rancho. So now we have rooms named after the actors who stayed in those rooms. The whole lobby is full of portraits of all the old stars. It's just a really immersive, it's like stepping back in time. I know it's kind of a cliche to say that, but it really is stepping back in time in a sense with the whole aesthetic they have and the customer service they bring to the table. So, yeah, I would definitely encourage folks to check it out. Even if you can't stay the night, I'd prefer if you stay the night, of course, but even if you can't, just stop by and check it out. They're very welcoming and open to folks doing that.
So I'm going to be traveling with a dog, and some places are dog friendly, some places are not. I have no idea if you are equipped to answer a pop quiz question like this or not. But is there a dog park, and are there places that you can go bring your dog on a patio or anything?
Absolutely. We have a dog park here in town. The city operates. Pretty nice location, fairly popular, especially among locals. We also have a number of parks around the community. We've got a tremendous number of parks, actually. And then we do have quite a few lodging establishments who will allow pets. We actually have a page on visitgallup.com that outlines all of that. So if you're doing your research, you can find the exact location that's okay with your animals and get set up from there.
How big is Gallup?
This is an interesting question. We've got about 22,000 people who live here.
Oh,
However, with the indigenous communities around us, the reservations, usually on the weekend, especially the first weekend of the month, we'll have 100,000 people in Gallup. They come here to shop from as many as, 100, 200 miles away. They come into town to do their shopping, to see friends, to celebrate, go to events. So, I mean, we have a small population at its base, but because of that influx, we have a lot of the amenities and restaurants and retail that you probably wouldn't find in most communities of our size.
do you guys have roadside vendors, especially during the summer? There, there's not a pistachio or peach stand. I'm not a sucker to stop by, and people selling turquoise on the side of the road, that sort of thing. Do you have that?
Absolutely. Yeah. You'll see it more pop up when we have events.
Yeah.
We have our beautiful Red Rock Park that has quite a few events throughout the year, and you'll find vendors setting up on the road leading to it. We also have the Gallup Flea Market, which is another iconic stop in our community. Friday and Saturday mornings, they open up, and you can find pretty much anything you want representative of our community there. Food, jewelry, trinkets, pottery, all kinds of great stuff.
What's the size at 22,000? Call it 30,000, because I imagine you're going to have 5 to 10,000 people daily going through Gallup on probably June, July, August. I don't know if you saw the AAA study where they're anticipating 41% of adults are going to be taking in a part of Route 66 this summer,
Hmm.
and I 40% is really high. That's just a really high number. So for those types of studies, I usually cut it in half, and
Hmm.
20% is still a big number. So
Absolutely.
I mean, if are you telling me that if any highway could grab 20% of the American population and have them drive down it, they'd sign up for that all day long.
Mhm.
So even if 40% is inflated, which I don't know if it is, I'm just putting my veteran media skeptical head on here and saying, hope for the best and whatever. But what what have you guys done? What should people anticipate? Sometimes when you start getting into, uh, I grew up in the Dakotas and western Minnesota, so roads are seem to be funneled to certain areas exclusively. So some communities and counties get left out of the shuffle. And when we had our oil boom in western North Dakota, it really came to light because there literally was, Billings, North Dakota, for example, the population of the county is 800 people. So, but before the oil came, nobody paid one attention to that because it was like in next to Medora, so it didn't even get Medora attention. Medora is a big tourist attraction. So when those oil trucks started going down a road that was literally meant for a combine twice a year,
Mhm.
the first rainstorm that came through just washed chunks of the road would wash right off.
I can imagine.
And so the oil
Yeah.
companies had to come in and pay for the roads because time is money, and boy, they
Yeah.
got barrels to drill and that kind of stuff. But how are the roads? Should people anticipate anything? Because if my memory serves me right, Route 66 going from like Grants over to Arizona, that's a frontage road, isn't it? Next to the interstate?
Excuse me. There's places where you have to get on the interstate. For the most part, between Grants and Gallup, you can drive on the frontage road, but there are a few locations where you're going to have to get on I-40 and then get off again.
Yeah.
Doesn't, unfortunately, doesn't quite go all the way through, but you can get a lot of it on the frontage road.
Are there any areas that people have to, worry about, whether it be a switchback or whether it be, I don't know if our bridge is going to be built in time yet or anything like that.
Um, I would say if they're sticking to Route 66, not really. The road is pretty good.
Hmm.
It's all paved, you're not going to run into anything unexpected or any issues like that. I mean, if you get off the road and you start exploring, the forest or the high desert area, some of the rural parts of our county, then yeah, you're going to be dealing with dirt roads and things like that. But
Dirt
for the
roads
average,
aren't an issue when you've got mountain lions, rattlesnakes, and scorpions and that kind of stuff. I mean, geez, if somebody gets off the road, they're on their own on that one. But so no, I'm just checking because a lot of states, they've invested into construction projects, either trying to get things up to snuff or not. And sometimes hey, weather happens, a guy doesn't show up, a contractor's behind, things happen, and I've been warned a few times about like Oatman, Arizona area, the switchbacks start coming in, and then I did some research, and they were so bad back in the day, locals would get paid to drive people's vehicles through there. You imagine that as a service? That's like a Sherpa, you know what I mean? But for a vehicle. Pretty smooth sailing though, because I think it's mostly just the interstate and that little, like I say, the frontage road for those people who choose to drive the frontage road of the preserved Route 66.
yes, sir.
Are there any businesses that you want to mention, or any events or sponsors or anything like that that are really taking leaderships in the Gallup area, McKinley County?
Yeah, I would say one of our biggest centennial event is going to be at the last weekend in July. It's called Route 66 Rides, and that is sponsored by Exxon. So we're really fortunate to have them kind of step up to help us with our event. And it's 3 days of hot air balloons, classic cars, motorcycles, music, food, all in historic downtown Gallup. And one of the highlights that I would love for your listeners and viewers to keep in mind is that we have a tunnel of fire that Saturday night. And what it is we have hot air balloon baskets down 66. They shoot their flames up, kind of making a tunnel, and then we have all the classic cars and motorcycles drive through it. It's just such a spectacle to take in. It's really, really
And
neat.
when is this?
It's at the end of July. Let me give you
Okay.
the exact dates right here. It is
So yeah,
July 24th through 26th.
I'm going to do my best to be there for that as I'm
Oh,
talking in real time because so we're starting on the 29th, and then we're going to go to the July 15th. And we're going to be actually broadcasting July 15th from the Wheels Museum in Albuquerque.
cool.
And I've got some friends and family in Albuquerque. If I've got to mooch a place on their couch for a week and just jot over to Gallup to be a part of the Tunnel of Fire, that's okay. I'll do that, or I can run back to the Minnesota pad and do one round of paddleboarding and come back. But that sounds like a can't miss. That sounds like a don't miss. I mean, hot air
Yes.
balloons. You got rigs. Exxon. You got Exxon Mobil. We're talking about here.
Yes, yeah, they stepped up to sponsor us this year. We're really fortunate to have that support. Yeah, so
Is
they're
is
our
there
chief
is there
sponsor.
any activity up there? Is there oil and gas activity in Gallup?
Not in Gallup.
That's
I
more
know in
Farmington, isn't it?
Yeah, Farmington, yes. Yeah, Farmington and then more in the Permian Basin area. They have a lot of oil down there, obviously,
Well,
but
yeah, but that's in the southeast part of the corner. You're up in the northwest corner. Like
right,
you're
yeah,
close to the Four Corners, except for the other
exactly.
state, right? No,
Yes,
that's your
sir.
state, right?
Yep, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Farmington would be the biggest kind of oil hub near us.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any drilling that happens in McKinley County.
I'm not either. That's why. So, I've Kenny's Electric here. I have a hat on from, I have 100 of these oil and gas hats because um, another brand that I do is the Crude Life. And,
Hmm.
and we're a non-political oil and gas lifestyle brand. We've been around for 15 years.
Hmm.
And yeah, in fact, Christy Craddock, the Texas Railroad Commissioner, she's our interview we're spotlighting today.
Huh.
March is International Women's Month, and so for 15 years we've highlighted a different woman in energy.
Neat. Oh.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, and this is kind of funny because 10 years ago, um, actually this was 2014, so 12 years ago, we did a feature in the Oil Man magazine, because I'm a former writer and a former publisher, and I wrote for about a dozen different energy publications, and I would feature women every March,
That's
and
great.
we did an Oil Man magazine, and so a lot of the quote unquote marketing people kind of got mad at me because I called it Women in Energy, and
Hmm.
back then they were still oil and gas; they weren't energy then.
Oh, I see.
And then a couple of years later, of course, they started branding themselves as an energy company. And for me, I'm kind of a biblically good or biblically bad type of person. So I started leaning into the crude life that I'm like, oh, okay, now if you guys are going to yell at me for that, then I'm so anyway,
You're ahead of the
yeah.
curve, it sounds like.
And one of the things that we're going to be doing with the crude life this summer is getting a ton of classic car interviews because we've been transitioning into a very heavy classic car audience. Obviously, if we've had a 15-year podcast radio show, we've collected quite a loyal
Mhm.
audience that knows who Exxon is, and so that's why I'm going into a little bit of overtime here with this because we're very familiar with Exxon. Very, so we've had their CEO on our program before,
Oh,
and so
neat.
oh yeah, yeah, that's
That's
why
cool.
I'm happy to hear that they're
Mhm.
sponsoring out in Gallup, and for a long time the oil and gas they did a lot of their communities only.
Mhm.
And
I see.
so they would have only done Farmington, for example, and not
Oh,
Gallup. And
yeah.
so for me, I spent 15 years speaking. In fact, I've spoken Tulsa half a dozen times, down in the Permian too. In fact, different areas down in Midland and Odessa. The mayor of Odessa gave me a bobblehead of myself for all the positive work we did for the industry.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, and one of the things I would tell the industry was that you need to think beyond your communities. It's great that you're doing the communities. Don't stop that. But think of the end user. And the example I would always give, because 98% or 96% of what we use on a daily basis is powered by or uses petroleum, that type of a thing. And when I grew up, petroleum wasn't political. Gas prices were, but it's not like it is today.
Yeah.
And I would say go sponsor a bowl game. That's the type of stuff you need to sponsor. Go sponsor a bowl game because that's a positive experience. And when people leave, they're not going to remember much except for the good time they had at the Exxon Bowl. And
Yep.
so I'm so happy to hear that they're sponsoring your event because what you're talking about is such a positive experience. Whether you're a part of Route 66, whether you're a part of oil and gas, whether you're a part of the hot air balloons, you're talking about something that's awesome and bigger than life. And so when people walk away, not only is the social media going to be there, but
Hmm.
just that uplifting feeling of, man, what a great time we had in Gallup, man. And at the Exxon, what's it called? What's your, what's
It's
it
a,
called again? The
Route 66 rides.
Route
Yeah.
66 rides. So we've got
Yes.
hot air balloon rides,
Hmm.
classic car rides, pony rides or no? No pony rides?
Not quite.
Goat
That's a good
rides?
thought. We got motorcycle. There's going
Okay.
to be a bike ride. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff. We're also going to be doing. We're really excited about having 66 balloons on 66. We're going to have a balloon glow that Friday night. So if you can imagine along Route 66 having 66 balloons going down it for about a mile, it's going to be something really to take in. It's all family friendly, very, like you said, a positive event. Gallup's really great about rolling out the red carpet for people who come in, giving them that kind of that white glove treatment and just making them feel welcome. I think we're really strong in that regard.
It's a 3-day event.
Yes, sir.
Is it on the weekend?
Yes, it's going to be July 24th, which is a Friday,
Okay.
through Sunday, July 26th.
And what is the 66 of fire, whatever that is? What day is that going to be?
The Tunnel of Fire is on Saturday evening.
The
A little
Tunnel of
after,
Fire.
yes, sir. Yeah, after it gets dark, we're going to have everybody lined up, fire up the burners, and it's really something to take in. We have a really nice video on our City of Gallup Facebook page. If anybody out there wants to go look for it, or if they reach out to me directly, I'm happy to send them a copy. It's really, really worth taking in
Is this
because
something that you've done before in the past?
yes, sir. Yeah, the Tunnel of Fire has happened for many years, but last year was the first time we brought it to 66. So we were actually able to work with the state to close down a section of 66, get all the safety in order, traffic
Hmm.
control, all that good stuff, and then literally have baskets down the side of each road or each side of the road shooting their flames up toward the center. It's really neat.
Oh, so it'll be on. That's right, because that's the frontage road, right? We're talking about because 66 is kind of the frontage road in Gallup, right? Or it looks like a
Well,
frontage road on a map, I guess. That's.
yeah, for some of it, but 66 also comes into downtown Gallup. So that we're
Oh,
this event
but
takes place in historic downtown Gallup on 66.
oh, for neat. Okay, here I thought it was just because 40 is the main one, and then I did notice that, like I was saying, there's areas where it jots off 40, and a lot of times all of a sudden it's a frontage road called Route 66. And it's my Midwestern brain here trying to adapt to the desert climate because I've followed navigation before, and I'll never do that in Pahrump, Nevada, because Jayhawk Lane, it just takes you out in the middle of the desert. In Pahrump, Nevada, I spent a week there one night. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's well,
Jeez.
this has been fantastic. So let's kind of reset and review here a little bit. So
Sure.
the events that people should be jotting down in their mental Rolodex, if not their real life Rolodex. What are they, and what are the dates again?
Yeah, so I would definitely encourage folks to start visiting early June. June 3rd is when our Gallup Summer Indian dances start. That's every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's a free event, and you'll get to experience a lot of the indigenous cultures around the state and region. You get to go up and sometimes even dance with the groups. They'll invite you to come down and do a round dance, for example. It's a really, really engaging, unique experience. So encourage people to do that. And then throughout June, we've got a bunch of rodeos. The Hemmings Great Race is going to be here on June 25th. And then moving into July, the big event is that Route 66 rides I was mentioning, July 24th through 26th. All the information is on our website, visitgallup.com. It's a great place to plan your trip, make hotel reservations, just really soak in what we have here. And then, of course, anybody's welcome to reach out to me directly. Happy to help you get your trip in order, figure out what event might be a good fit for you, and just make the most out of your time here in Gallup.
And any other mentions that we forgot or we need to reiterate or anything along those lines as we kind of wrap it up here?
Yeah, I would just put a big plug out for our trading posts. We have several along historic Route 66. One of them is Richardson's Trading Post. They have all the neon still. Beautiful location, one of the oldest in our community. And they have really incredible shopping opportunities. I mean, Gallup is known as the Native American capital of the world. It's said about 70% of Native American art and jewelry comes from Gallup in one form or another, whether it's the materials, the artists making it, what have you. So you can get items for pretty much any level of budget, jewelry, pottery, blankets, all that good stuff. So I definitely want to put that on people's radar.
Is it multiple nations there, or is there one dominant? I guess I've never heard Native American capital of the world.
Yeah, so we have to our northwestish, we have the Navajo Nation. They have quite a lot of land around Gallup in different places. And then to our south, we have the Zuni Pueblo. They're one of the oldest indigenous communities, I'd say, in the state, maybe the country. Really strong artist colony, really great people. And then kind of depending on which way you go, there's several more tribes of different natures. You know, a lot of pueblos. We have Acoma Pueblo on the way to Albuquerque. So yeah, Gallup has been historically a place where a lot of indigenous communities come together to trade, to see each other, to have celebrations. We're actually known as in the Dene language, which is Navajo, we're known as Nijoni, which is the bridge. It's really a nice like metaphor imagery to symbolize how Gallup has always brought people together. Even before the route was here, even before Gallup was established in 1881, we were a hub for trade, culture, people coming together and just enjoying life and celebrating each other.
And these trading posts have a lot of the Native American um, merchandise, and I mean sounds such like a capitalistic word to use for anything that involves Native American art, but
Yeah.
yeah, like whether it be a blanket or turquoise or jewelry or even candles and that sort of things. Because like I say, I'm such a sucker for buying a lot of that stuff on the roadside because it's made with such passion a lot of times, and
Yes.
I didn't realize the Zuni was up in Gallup. I didn't retain that through all the years because, from my understanding, that's the oldest, or like you mentioned, one of the oldest tribes, nations there is in North America at least, and their
Yes.
culture is just very interesting, extremely
Oh,
interesting. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. They have a really nice museum down there. They're about 30 minutes south of Gallup, so it's pretty easy to hop down there, visit, and come back to Gallup, and continue on with whatever you're doing. But yeah, our trading posts are just steeped full of jewelry, pottery, rugs, different budget levels. I mean, I've been invited into some of the private showings in the back of the trading post where there'll be a rug for thousands of dollars made by one of the most famous artists in the world, down to small little kind of items that you could buy for $20,
Hmm.
So there's a huge range of possibilities, a lot of really beautiful work. And you're exactly right. The craftsmanship, the creativity, and the passion that goes into these items is just unparalleled, in my opinion.
And these trading posts, I imagine they're somewhat Americanized. I mean, with the look and the feel and just kind of the flow and that sort of thing. But here's what a lot of people don't understand too is in South Dakota they were getting in trouble because the gas stations, the chains, were bringing in Native American art that was made in China.
Oh,
And yeah, and some of the locals got very upset because it would just flat out undermine and compete with the local artists that were trying to make a living. And so, yeah, they stepped in and kind of took that. And it reminds me of the fake honey in the market and all these different things
oh,
that are out there. And so,
yeah,
anyway, so just support local folks.
yes.
And in kind of conclusion here, as we kind of wrap up, to me, that's one of the biggest draws of this whole thing is that there's such a push and a justification now to support these local businesses because it's bringing back the mother road, but the downtowns and the small town America. Person I was talking to yesterday, there's a trend now where the younger Gen Zs and millennials are going to road trip it with their baby boomer and Gen X parents, 40 or miles, or just take a taste of it and hit a couple iconic spots and, do your social media posts together and show the world that you get along as a family, hey, enjoy Route 66 for what it is. But anyway, just kind of, I'll give you the final word if you wouldn't mind. Just kind of, sell your town and county and let people know.
Yeah, Jason, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate meeting with you, talking to you today. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, Gallup is an incredible place to visit. We have a lot of great stuff going on around us, a couple World Heritage sites near us, a UNESCO World Heritage like Chaco Canyon is a really great place. We haven't even touched on our outdoor recreation. We're the adventure capital of New Mexico here in Gallup and McKinley County, which anybody who's familiar with our state is saying a lot because there's a lot of great outdoor recreation around the area. But just to close it off, I would say please check out our website, visitgallup.com. Reach out to me directly. My number is 505-863-1227. Be happy to help you out with anything on the ground. You will love Gallup if you take the opportunity to stop and spend some time here. We hear a lot that people pass through. That's how they know Gallup. Stop, stretch your legs, come downtown, patronize our businesses. You're not going to regret it. You're going to have a really great time.
All right, one more question because the outdoor, and that's, I mean, we can keep it under a couple minutes here, but that's important. So I was when you mentioned the Zuni Museum or the Zuni area, it was about 30 miles away. I was going to ask you at that point, and I'm glad that you brought up the outdoor because there is a lot of communities that are trying to lure people away from Route 66 to come up and visit. And so I'm basically saying, all right, if you're within 45, 60 miles, something like that, because it was originally 45 miles, but then I saw one hot spring was 60 miles away, and I'll drive 60 miles for a hot spring. That's okay.
Yes.
I'll do that all day long. So, just kind of within an hour type of a drive, what would be some places that people might want to either check out a sunrise, a sunset, a museum, an awesome, when you start getting into some of the Arizona counties, you're getting close to the Grand Canyon, so you can get that awesome nature look, or a hike or something like that. Go ahead and drop some of that tourism.
Yeah, I'd say within 60 miles, an hour of us, there's a tremendous amount to check out. We've got the Trail of the Ancient Scenic Byway, which is a really lovely kind of scenic drive to take. We have Window Rock, which is the capital of the Navajo Nation. They have a nice zoo and a beautiful, incredible museum full of art. Really a great place to be. Of course, we mentioned Zuni already. And then I would say even within an hour around us, we have over 100 miles of trails, everything from in the pine forest, dense, up there in the mountains, down to the high desert where you can see the landscape, the horizon, and just there's so many different biomes here, all within, 20, 25-minute drive of each other. There's something for everybody, every skill level in terms of hiking, biking, equestrian, all that kind of stuff. There's something for everybody. ATVs, off-roading, we offer it all here, and we're happy to host you and to show you around. A lot of great people here who love to share that information.
Matt Robinson with the tourism and marketing, the City of Gallup. Thank you so much today, sir.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate your time and for reaching out. It's been really nice chatting with you.